Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 7076 Southwest Rice Court here in Portland. We're located at the front of the home here. We are at the front right corner of the house, right next to the gas meter. We have a 4-inch cast iron clean out. We're going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We do have water currently running, and we'll zero the foot counter out at the base of the clean out. Off we go. So far, all cast iron. We're going to see what this flow line looks like when we drain it out. I can tell it's getting a little bit rough and bumpy, but we'll see how significant that is when the line's drained out. And it looks like we're going through some standing water there. And we'll get a better view of all those things once the line's drained at the end. But it's kind of a rare circumstance to have this much cast iron. And of all the old pipe products, if you're going to have an old line, cast iron's generally the stuff you want to have. It holds up for quite a long time, much longer than concrete pipe generally does. So it's kind of a nice setup for an old line. And then we reach the main here at 45 feet. The line transitions to 30-34 there right at the last second. Last few feet is updated. So anyhow, we're going to drain the line out. We're going to go locate the terminus here while the pipe drains, and we'll get a better view of everything as we come back. The line is certainly functioning, but we'll get a better idea of how much standing water we have there and how the flow line's looking in the cast iron. I located the camera head successfully. The line terminates out on Rice Court, and the line's basically doing a straight shot right through the yard out to the street. All right, all the 30-34 PVC pipe there looks good. So we're getting to that area here with some standing water. And from this point right here, probably another, 8 to 10 feet down line, you've got maybe a 16th, it might be as minimal as a 32nd of an inch of standing water. Water that minor might as well not even be there. There's not enough to actually do anything, catch debris. And the line here is actually quite clean. There's almost no buildup in it, at least that I've seen so far. We'll see here as we pull back into the belly. So you have the belly here dissipates out at about 28 feet. It's a very short-lived spot. It starts at about 25 and extends to 28 feet. And I'll show you something here as I pull back. I just need to write this note down real quick. At its worst point, you're somewhere between a 3/4 to 1 inch of standing water. It's no more than that. The water line just barely goes over the top of my camera lens. And when it comes to bellies, generally my breaking point where I start recommending repairs is usually at 1 inch for at least 5+ feet. But I've got to see buildup. And in this area here, as you see, right as we approach the belly, if a belly is causing flow problems or has caused a flow problem, a blockage, a backup, something of that nature, you're going to generally have lots of buildup going up the sidewalls, and you'll have debris hanging from the top of the pipe. The only thing hanging down here is a couple cobwebs. There is no buildup or blockage evidence or anything of the sort. That's not to say that it couldn't cause a blockage, but if you're not putting wild and crazy things down this line here, I mean, toilet paper and whatnot, whoever's been living here has had zero issues with the sewer line as far as clogs and stuff goes. I can just tell that based on how clean the line is. The cast iron, you can see, is becoming rough and bumpy. You can do a process called descaling to smooth that out. If you do that, though, you have to make sure it's done very, very thoroughly. Knocking the rust layer loose is not the hard part. It's getting all the rust out of the sewer line And in general, I don't recommend descaling unless the scale is really, really gnarly, very jagged, and is clearly causing debris to collect in the sewer line. I've had people go to descale cast iron over the years, and they knock a whole bunch of rust loose and then don't get the rust out of the sewer line. You end up with 1-inch thick piles of rust sitting in your flow line that cause a far more significant problem than you had before. So in general, I don't recommend it unless there's obvious buildup and clear issues that have occurred in the past. As this line sits right now, the only thing that is in it is a rust layer. There's no buildup of any kind. There's not even a scrap of toilet paper in the sewer line. So as it sits now, we still have adequate flow to the main lateral connection, even with the belly. Again, the belly, in my opinion, is too minor, especially based on the lack of any debris whatsoever in the sewer line to require repairs. Again, it's not that you don't have to worry to some extent about it, but based on how clean this line is, it does not appear to have ever caused a blockage or anything of the sort. But when it comes to cast iron, because it is rough and bumpy on the inside, it's kind of a natural occurrence for cast iron. You want to make sure you're not putting things like paper towels, tampons, flushable wipes are terrible too. Do not use them. Only thing that should be going down the line, ideally, human waste, toilet paper, and obviously you can put some food down in the disposal. Just try to avoid greasy stuff and stuff that has lots of fats in it. But as it sits now, the line is functioning. All the pipe we just scoped there all appears to be intact. The cast iron, I would say, is in fair condition. It's showing its age, but it still is functional. So because the age of the line, though, I would keep an eye on it. I'd rescope it maybe every 2 years, maybe 3 years to keep an eye on things. Like anything, it doesn't last for forever. The nice thing about this line, though, if you so choose to do an update at some point down the road or here long enough to see that, this is 4-inch pipe throughout the entirety of it. So this allows you to do an epoxy liner trenchlessly when that day does come. That's looking down the road a little ways, but it's a nice option when you have a 4-inch diameter line like that, especially one that has great bones to it. If you did a liner down the road, you're going to retain that little belly in the line. The belly, in my opinion, on its own is not significant, but if you go and put a nice smooth liner in there, it's going to basically make that belly completely insignificant because you have a very smooth interior pipe wall at that point. But anyhow, I don't want to get caught up too much on that. That's for the future when that day does come. But as it sits now, the line is functioning.